Hey Thomas, welcome back, man. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, no worries. I just made it in at the nick of time right before this. Sometimes I cut meetings a little bit close coming in from runs, so
That's all right. I don't think your bosses are watching anyways, but
yeah.
thanks for doing this. And for everybody who didn't pick up on last week, go back and watch the first video. We did weeks 1 through 6 first. Thomas is working full time. He's chasing some big goals at the Marathon Project. He's running about 120 to 125K a week, and we're starting to just kind of break this down and show what it's like for him chasing. So with that, why don't we jump into week 7 here? So it wasn't like a crazy week. I'll pull up Final Surge here again, but just kind of what were your overall thoughts on last week there, man?
Yeah, just to correct there, 5 miles per week.
Yeah, sorry, did I say kilometers? 220
Yeah, yeah,
kilometers. Yeah, my bad.
yeah.
Yeah.
And I actually I was looking back. I think it was on the Saturday and a 7 day span, or even the Friday and a 7 day span. And then I think I looked at also the Sunday and a 7 day span. I think that was like maybe 136 miles. I think it was more so looking at the Saturday. But yeah, no, it was a solid week. I think it was like a good week to challenge myself. But I'd say most things feel like within our control now. Like I felt like last marathon build, like every sort of week was like, whoa, like this
Yeah.
is new. This is a lot. Can I even do this? But it feels more like a muscle I can flex versus like a muscle that's, being overworked. So yeah, it's
Yes,
good.
it's one of the reasons why when we re-engaged post-collegiately for you, and I talked about moving you to the marathon, it was like we want to have a couple of those before we're getting closer to qualification, right? So that way you're coming into it with a big build like this, and you're like, oh, I actually know I can hit it. Like I'm pushing myself to be clear, right? But I know that I can like handle this and actually tolerate what we're doing. And so a little bit more of that like known here, because really nothing we're doing isn't something you've had before. It's just different little variations within the build or structure, and a little bit more volume than your previous builds, to be clear. But I mean, you've navigated it well the last couple of years. Everything's really kind of moved forward. So hopefully we get to do the same here.
Yeah. No, for sure. Yeah, the mileage, like, honestly comes, especially now, just comes very, very easy to me. I feel like, a few things in terms of probably some proper periodized training that goes into that. Diet, training, just working on the little things over time, sleep. That's definitely a huge one that I've dialed in the last like 1.5, 2 years. So yeah, definitely a lot of things. But yeah, you just, like, I was just looking back at the numbers, and I think before the build, if I'd seen like, oh, this is like, if I saw a number that said miles per week of like 136 miles, I'd be like, whoa, like
Yeah.
that's crazy. But kind of looking at it after the fact, and we don't really look at the number of miles I have to run in the day. It's all time based. And so, yeah, looking at it after the fact, I was like, oh, that was no problem at all. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, you've been callous to it, right? This is why we've built and built and built and built so you can do this. And so I think, that's probably a good point to, point out here. We're doing more intensity in this build than I would traditionally do with most marathoners. I think more than you would also do with your marathoners as well, too, that you coach. But part of the reason we can do that is because of the volume that you can tolerate, right? You recover faster. You have inter-workout and intra-workout higher recoverability because you've got years of this volume. And obviously there's like the law of diminishing returns as your volume goes up, right? You can only get so much from just doing volume, right? So for
Yeah.
you, we're pushing that intensity zone a little bit. And this is something both you and I are, watching a lot of the pros, like Canadian guys, American guys, European guys even too, and looking at things like what, Rory's done this year, or Clayton and Connor and such too, and going like, well, you're running that volume too, right? So can we play with a little bit more of this intensity? So what are your thoughts on how this has kind of gone, having this as your highest intensity and highest volume marathon build thus far before we break into last week?
Yeah, no, it really feels great. I mean, I think going into this marathon, it's sort of like a daunting beast to be like, yeah, you're going out at 3:08 and holding, but that honestly feels comfortable given how many workouts we've done, and sort of without me trying to force that number, those, just seeing some of those numbers just naturally appear in some workouts. And then I think, being able to have had, those 2 half marathons too, like we don't have to do as many races in future builds, but just being able to see that, oh, even off of I guess, this amount of mileage, and more so a focus on mileage instead of like nailing threshold session after threshold session. It's like you can run faster paces and feel really strong while doing this new kind of system. And you're not like slowing down. You're not losing your speed. If anything, I was thinking about this while I was doing strides today. I was like, I feel faster even. Like I feel faster and stronger over like the sprint speed and stuff like that. So yeah, it's pretty exciting, and I'm really enjoying the system as a whole, and yeah, it's yeah, great pattern that we're on.
Sweet. Let's roll into it and kind of break down last week there. So we finished up on the 9th. We'll pick up on the 10th here. So this is really just our bread and butter, right? Our 75, 45, and 5 by 20 seconds. And so, excuse me, anybody who's looking, like, you'll see Thomas isn't always doing, 75 minutes, and I give him that leeway, right? So I know if he's feeling good, and because he is running his easy runs like proportionally chill, right? Like over 8-minute miles sometimes, or just under 8-minute miles. I've got no problem if he's going a little bit longer. I also know sometimes for him, this is his like stress reliever for the day and such too. So it's always in and around there. But the key thing that we've kind of added in this build was the strides. And I know we were talking about this before. And you asked me a question, which is probably a good one to answer here. Why or what have my thoughts changed on strides? Because, when I had you as a collegiate athlete, we weren't doing strides, right? And where it's kind of come from for me now is like, yes, we did some 10K stuff earlier in the year, but we're not always near the speed stuff as much as you would be kind of in a collegiate season where you're doing a little bit more rep stuff or 5K pace stuff all the time. But additionally, just like neuromuscularly for you, like I find when you're like plodding along at volume all the time, you lose a little bit of that higher end. And so I wanted to put those in there for you. I also know, like psychologically speaking, giving you that little bit of something that you can push on, right? Like push up against that edge, which is really not going to be detrimental. So it was kind of a mix of the two of those, which is why I changed my mind on it for you. I was like, the risk versus reward here for a guy who's running, 120 plus miles a week to add in, a minute and a half, a minute 80 of strides a day is really going to be nothing. There's a high trust between us, that we communicate really well. If anything is a little sideways, it's been gold. So, yeah. What are your thoughts on the strides? How have you liked them in this build?
Yeah, I think I think we introduced it in like a sort of a moderate amount. We sort of sprinkled that in when doing the build into like Houston half earlier this year. And I think I was definitely skeptical to start with. I was like, man, I got to do this, like, fuck. But sorry, I don't know if I can swear there, but
You can swear. It's all good.
and yeah, and then I can think over time, you're just like, okay, well, the only way is through, so I might as well buy in, might as well like do some of this, and I think maybe earlier on in the half build I didn't respond as well, but I think especially now that we've done it so many weeks back to back, I actually go to like a couple specific spots on the canal that are like only a 5-minute jog from my home. Like I'll do most of my run minus 5 minutes, do some drills and do some strides, and it's kind of like the spot where I'm like, okay, I got to be intentional, I got to be present in the moment, and kind of get the most out of it. But yeah, I actually, when I do that jog back and after like the last 5 minutes, I actually feel like kind of like more recovered even as well. So there's quite a few other benefits that I pull from that. But I've thought about, hey, like what would be the difference of, like, I see other guys just kind of cranking at every easy run, like 4-minute Ks or like stuff like that, and I just think that that sort of like gray zone 2 doesn't necessarily add you many benefits, if any. And I think it's just like fatiguing you, and just the body's just breaking down a lot more. Whereas these strides, it's like, okay, you only have to be like dialed in for like a short 5 minutes. So it's like, oh, can you just survive that? And actually you're probably getting much more out of it from like a speed standpoint. So it's been great. And I think, yeah, it's definitely helped top end speed, and it's also a lot of fun too.
Yeah. And no, I agree. And I think it was probably one of the things that helped you this year with some of your closing. Like you had some really good closes in your 10Ks earlier in this year. Thinking Ottawa in particular, there's a big group of you guys and running through, but then also Toronto 10K, when it was like stupid windy, you guys had to like funnel up and you made a big move going into the wind. I remember being out there on the bike and it looked like you had a lot of pop just to like hit that move. Right. And so I don't, excuse me. I don't know if it's like fully attributed, excuse me, to the strides, but I certainly think it's helped.
Yeah. No, definitely. I think it's just being able to get a lot more out of yourself for the longest time I had like some weird like hip imbalances too, and I would actually like do 50% less strength work and exercises because my left hip was just so locked up. And I've now been able to finally kind of release that, do some work with the chiro and stuff like that, but also just like do more strength on both sides. And then I think sort of second to that, just like, oh, like doing all this neuromuscular work, it's kind of been able to get both legs, you know, being able to fire at full power. And now maybe I'm actually getting the most out of myself for like the first year in ages since, you know, some major injuries. It's kind of like similar to like you know, Galen Rupp. He would for a period, I think when he was working with Mike Smith, he was only doing like incline treadmill runs, and it was just like simply to get both legs firing with like equal power. So I've even thought of it like that. But yeah, definitely some of those races, just coming into it knowing that I over other guys could drop like, you know, a sub 240 last K and I could rely on myself to do that because we set things up well in training.
Yeah, and I just want to make one point here before we jump into your Tuesday session, but the strides sprinkled on top of the volume has what's been giving you the ability to make those kicks. Because strides without volume, like you're not even in the race if you don't have the like aerobic volume to be at that pace, let alone to pick up from, right? So I think a lot of people miss that, but yeah. Okay, let's go to Tuesday because I think this is what the people want. I don't know. Maybe they like hearing us talk. Maybe they like looking at your workouts. I don't know. But this was a little bit of a bigger double T session for you, and it was a quick double back, right? So on Sunday there you had done 70 minutes at marathon pace, and so this is part of that like intensity discipline, intensity control that you've gotten really good at, right? Like knowing, okay, I've got that Sunday long run on this part of the cycle. I'm going to bounce back to a double T. Now, purposely went a little bit less than like threshold, like marathon effort for that 20-minute session, and then 4x10 tempo. So do you want to walk us through how you felt, and I'll pull up splits and such?
Yeah, felt pretty good. So yeah, we had a bit of snow. So yeah, that was on the treadmill. Those paces, like I do try to calibrate my watch like almost on par, but technically that's not exactly accurate. It's probably closer to like I was probably starting at like 311s and maybe just doing some 310s, but I was definitely trying to be more on the conservative side. And yeah, I really enjoy. I almost find that helps me flush out the legs for the afternoon session. I think if I just did what was it, 4x10 minutes at tempo in the afternoon, I think I would actually feel like a lot worse, which is kind of funny to say, but yeah, that's how I see it.
Well, and it's interesting because like it's this weird juxtaposition with volume. It's like you're doing high volume, so you're tired, but on workout days, you actually kind of need a little bit more volume to like feel fresh again. Like it's weird, right? Like even at a lot of the high level, like when you were in college and stuff, racing nighttime track 10Ks, it's like you'll do a shakeout in the morning because it's like you're used to running every 12 hours, 13 hours, right? So
yeah,
it is helpful in that regard for you. When we look ahead to kind of that evening session, the 4x10, right? So that's kind of a bread and butter one. We've done this, you know, a billion times. I really like this session. Again, you were on the treadmill. So for those who don't know, Thomas is living up in our nation's capital, Ottawa, and there was snow last week. So we made the right call, hit the treadmill. Part of that decision making is one, like you grew up on the West Coast, so you never grew up really running with snow. It is different. It's something like us in Ontario and the East Coast get quite a bit. But also just so you could get that intensity control, because I know you're someone who likes to just make sure you're feeling the right zone and such. And so I have full trust in you. You call the audibles when you want to go to the treadmill and such. So explain this, you know, even if the paces are off a little bit here, how this one went for you.
Yeah. I've really like always loved the treadmill, but yeah, if there's snow outside, it's like, okay, you're not going to get the same traction, toe off, you're slipping and sliding. And I just kind of see it as like like if there's anything like that or there's ice, you know, it's kind of inferior. Currently the canal has been under construction, so I'd also just like, it'd be like a really crappy 1K out and back. Plus this is after work too, so it's basically pitch black at that point in time. So I kind of have to. And honestly, yeah, I you know, flip a coin, probably get more or equal amount out of myself on the treadmill, and yeah, just really refining that over time. I hunted around for the best treadmill in all of Ottawa, which was you know, Good Life Fitness has some good treadmills that go fast enough to go faster than 3-minute Ks. But yeah, I think I wrote down my splits. like manually. So like first rep kind of more at like 303s, 302s, second rep 301s, then 300, and then 259, like 300, 259 per rep there. And yeah, felt great. And yeah, even just like technically, tempo, probably you're not typically thinking of practicing with carbs, but the last few builds when we've had these bigger tempo sessions, I have been taking in some amount of carbs. So I think I wrote down like 40.5 grams of carbs. And, do I need that during the session? Probably not. But I do find it probably helps with recovery and stuff long term.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I mean, I am like full high carb kind of guy, right? So it's like ABC, always be carbing. But I do think there is benefit doing it in the tempo sessions. One, a little bit of higher end stomach and intestinal training too at the higher levels of output. Because as your output goes up and your core temperature goes up from higher output, especially on the treadmill, blood flow comes from the stomach to the extremities, right? And you need blood flow in the stomach to help digest. So you're getting a good actual, intestinal boost to your gut training there. So good. Okay. That was a good one. Got through that, survived. That was our first real blast of winter where we actually had like snow, right? So that sucked. Doing a marathon build in the snow is never fun. But as we look ahead to the Friday session, again, just our normal kind of easy stuff here, but we had an AM workout or PM. Nobbs has full ability to switch this up, but this was the session on paper here, 12 by a K at 10K on 90 seconds, pretty hard session. And then just adding in a little bit of 5K pace stuff here. Top off was the plan, but I'll let you kind of explain how this went down and what that week looked like coming into that.
Yeah. I think I needed this one as kind of like not like a kick in the pants, but more like more just like it's okay to have a miss or a bad one. I don't even remember the last time I had like a proper like bad session even in the summer. Like I'd say I'd grade all my sessions like kind of B+ or higher. So yeah, this one I don't know, I just felt like I wasn't able to get the most out of myself from like a power standpoint, or just like wasn't able to comfortably hit some sort of realistic 10K pace, and seemed like I was going to the arms a little bit early. It was pretty windy, but regardless, I do sort of know like, I should have some pretty solid control. I think the biggest process thing was just like for some reason had terrible sleep Tuesday evening and Wednesday evening, and I think that just kind of like during this phase, during like the amount of mileage that I'm doing, I just needed, you just need to hit that from a recovery standpoint. You can't just you just need that. So yeah, I don't know. Just kind of chalk that one up as like, it is what it is, and still tried to make the most of it. And I kind of like mentally committed to, hey, we're at least going to get through 12 by a K and then decide about the 400s. But I'd say like, I don't know, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I get through every single workout almost every single time. So this is probably the first workout of like the year almost where I've sort of aborted 75% of the way through.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you've been like an Iron Man, so to speak. You talk about in like the NHL or the NBA sometimes about a guy who just gets everything done, right? Shows up for everything. And so I think, this is the tough balance for a guy at your level who's working full time, right? Now, to try to recover all the time, right? It's incredibly hard to recover at this level, just being a marathoner, let alone throwing in a job, runs that are at different times sometimes that are most optimal just with like work schedule or work meetings and such. And so, you made the right call here with an audible to cut the 5K pace stuff. And I think, you can correct me if I'm wrong, but part of it is like, we've talked so much about training, not just like, hey, here's your week, go for it. But over the years, we've talked about training where it's like, this kind of hierarchy of what's going to make you successful in the marathon, right? Like your total volume, your marathon pace, your tempo pace stuff, and then like 5K or faster stuff. And then that's kind of it, right? And so it's like, you maybe you can tell me, but you kind of did the arithmetic. Like, okay, I did the biggest thing that matters, and this was kind of a top up, but I need to come back and be ready for the rest of the week and next week. Is that kind of how you looked at it?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just getting that time in is pretty important. And I think I remember Arthur Lydiard just talking about like the main thing is just like to finish the workout ideally. And even if you fall off sometimes, it's like, it's okay. We just want to, and if you're slowing down, just like, we just want to get in that time. So yeah, in terms of that hierarchy, I think we got most of the way there. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And I think, there's going to be times, especially probably the next 2 weeks here, where we're really pushing the last kind of 2 weeks that we're trying to build at all before we come down, where you are going to be on that edge. And I think this is the experience thing for both you and me as your coach, where it's like, that there's still more coming, right? You
Mm.
know that there's still more that you can build, and that the idea that a couple reps at 5K pace aren't going to make or break you at this point in terms of your build. And then I also know that, like, okay, he always doubles down on his recovery after he feels like he had like a slightly off day or something like that. So it's like, okay, boom, there's good trust there. We know you're going to come back, and we'll foreshadow because we'll do this one next week. But you actually had a great session coming out of that, right? So yeah, any other thoughts on that workout?
No, no, I think that's everything. But yeah, I think it's a good one. Like I have a Bible, like a mental checklist of like basically 7 different things. Funny enough, like almost none of them have to do with running. I think one of the bullet point is just execute the right effort. Don't go too far over, too far
Yeah.
under.
Okay.
But I think because I have so much trust in you, to write the right workout and know what I can handle, and push me just outside my comfort zone. I don't actually spend a ton of time thinking about, oh, you need to show up on the workout day, execute this rep like this. Like it's just kind of like implicitly known. More of my mental energy and time and discipline goes into, okay, get to bed at 10:30. Don't have too much caffeine in the afternoon, or like any caffeine in the afternoon. Get sleep. So I looking back at my checklist, I kind of just like fucked up a couple, sorry, messed up a couple
You're
few
good.
of those things. And yeah, and then I think, just chatting with you, we're not gonna like change everything up like just going into the weekend. So it's just like kind of continue forward as is.
Yeah. And then last point I want to look at for this week was the 230 e-pace one. Not because we want to critique it here, but I know a lot of times people will try to put a lot of work into their marathon pace. And to be clear, we do, right? Like you did 60 to 70 minutes last week in it. But why I like this too, coming out of a big week, and to be clear, this was pre-scheduled. We didn't adapt this because of how Friday went, but it's just like a long callousing of the body, of the mind out there, long, easy volume, not meant to tax you or like, build your threshold or anything like that. Just get out there for a long time. I think sometimes, you can tell me it's been a while since I've marathon, but it is kind of nice just to do that long, easy run where you're just out and about, you get lost in your thoughts. And, I remember I used to feel like almost more recovered after those when I took it easy going into the next week. But what did you think?
Yeah, I think I've really appreciated that even when we were doing like the 10K build, like we were very early on in this year, doing that. And that's like well over 20 weeks out, or like 18 weeks out, right? And I think, my perspective, and I think yours for doing that is just like the more the more times you can run to that distance or at that distance, the more comfortable it feels for you. And it's like, you're not going to get like some insane benefit from like 2.5 hours, but yeah, again, it's just like calluses you to that amount of time. So that feels like a very comfortable distance now. And yeah, definitely enjoy it too. And then usually those ones, like in particular the Sundays, I'm trying to get 100 grams of carbs per hour. So I think maybe a bit of that, bit of more time on more easy time, like yeah, definitely more recovered coming into the week.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Final thoughts on last week and how it went for you?
Yeah, it was good. It was good. No, definitely after that Friday session, I got some great sleep. I felt like the next couple days I had a ton of gears that I still have ready to access, and yeah, just counting down the days. Because we
Yeah,
got,
yeah.
I don't know how many weeks now, four and a bit.
4 and a bit. Yeah, 4 and a bit.
Yeah,
Yeah, to 21st. Yeah. So it's coming up. So yeah, our next 2 weeks, just like thinking ahead for everybody listening, those will be our 2 big weeks. And then we cut downs. Lots of fun little sessions in there for everybody to pay attention to.
awesome.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Appreciate it. We'll pick up next week and review week 8.
Yeah, sounds good.
Awesome. See you, man.
See ya.